You've probably heard the words climate change thrown around a lot, right? But what does it actually mean? Well, today we're going to break it all down, the science, what's causing it, and what it really means for our planet. So let's dive right in. So yeah, it's a massive question, isn't it? It pops up in the news, we talk about it, but what is really going on? What's happening behind those words? Let's get right to the heart of it with a super simple definition. When you boil it all down, it's actually a pretty straightforward idea. Climate change, or global warming, you'll hear both terms, is just, well, it's the process of our planet heating up. Think of it like this. It's as if the Earth has a bit of a fever. Okay, so if the Earth has a fever, how high is it? Well, since the Industrial Revolution kicked off about 150 years ago, scientists figure that our activities have warmed the planet by about 1 degree Celsius. Now, I know what you're thinking. 1 degree, that doesn't sound like a big deal, right? But for a gigantic, finely tuned system like our planet, even that tiny change can have absolutely massive consequences. And this is a super important point to get. A warmer planet isn't just about getting a few extra sunny days at the beach. No way. What it really means is that our entire weather system, the whole shebang, gets knocked completely off balance. And that leads to weather becoming way more extreme and totally unpredictable. All right, so that's what's happening. Now for the big question, why is it happening? If our planet is getting warmer, who or what is turning up the heat? Let's dig into the causes to figure this out. I want you to picture something. Imagine wrapping the entire Earth in a giant, invisible blanket. Sounds kind of cozy, right? Well, that's basically what some of the gases up in our atmosphere do. They let all the sunlight and warmth from the sun come in, but they don't let all of it bounce back out into space. They trap it, and that's what keeps our planet warm. So this invisible blanket idea, it actually has a scientific name. It's called the greenhouse effect. And here's the thing. It's not a bad thing on its own. In fact, it's a totally natural process, and it's the reason Earth is warm enough for us to live here. The problem is, we've been doing things that are making that blanket thicker and thicker and thicker. And now it's starting to trap way too much heat. So where are all these extra blanket thickening gases coming from? Well, it pretty much boils down to 3 main things we humans do. Number 1, burning fossil fuels. Number 2, farming. And number 3, deforestation. Let's break those down. First on the list, fossil fuels. Think about it. For over 150 years, we've been powering everything. Our cars, our factories, our homes, with stuff like oil, coal, and gas. And every time we burn them, they release a huge puff of these heat-trapping gases into the air, making that invisible blanket just a little bit thicker. But it's not just about what we burn. It's also about farming. And this next one might sound a little funny, but it's true. We have to talk about cows. Yep, cows. See, when a cow digests its food, it burps a lot. And those burps release a gas called methane, which is a really powerful greenhouse gas. And when you have almost 1.5 billion cows on the planet, well, all those burps really add up. And that brings us to the third big one, deforestation, which is just a fancy word for cutting down forests. Now, forests, especially huge ones like the Amazon, are absolutely essential. They literally act like the planet's air conditioner. They breathe in all this nasty carbon dioxide that's warming the planet and breathe out the fresh oxygen we need to live. So when we chop those forests down, it's a double whammy. We lose the air conditioner, and all the carbon that was stored in those trees gets released back into the atmosphere. Okay, so we've established that the blanket's getting thicker and the planet's getting warmer. But what does that actually mean? What does it look like on the ground? Let's talk about the impact this is having on our world and the amazing wildlife we share it with. The effects are, well, they're happening all over the place. We're seeing things like way more intense rain in some places. The seasons are getting all mixed up. The ice at the North and South Poles is shrinking. And what happens when all that ice melts? It flows into the ocean, causing sea levels to rise all around the globe. And that shrinking ice? It's not happening slowly. It's happening fast. Scientists have figured out that the sea ice in the Arctic is vanishing at an absolutely shocking rate. We're talking 9% every single decade. And of course, this has a direct and honestly devastating effect on wildlife. For polar bears, when the sea ice melts, their hunting grounds literally disappear from under their feet. For orangutans, their rainforest homes are being cut down and are burning more often. And then you have animals like sea turtles. Rising seas are washing away the beaches where they lay their eggs. And what's wild is that the warmer sand is causing most of the baby turtles to be born female, which you can imagine is a huge problem for their future. Look, it's easy to think of this as just an issue for polar bears and faraway rainforests, but it's not. Climate change is having a massive impact on people too, all over the world, and in ways that might be a lot closer to home than you think. One of the clearest examples? Look at the people who grow our food. Farmers, especially in poorer countries, are right on the front lines. They're trying to deal with weather that's gone haywire. One year, it's a massive flood that washes everything away. The next, it's a drought that lasts for months. It's becoming so much harder for them to grow the food we all rely on. Let me bring this home for you with something really simple. Tea. Did you know that in the UK alone, people drink something like 165 million cups of tea every single day? That's just a mind-boggling amount of tea. But stop and think for a second. Where does it all come from? Well, a lot of it comes from places like Kenya. And right now, the tea farmers there are really struggling. And the reason why? The rain has become completely unpredictable because of climate change. They'll go through these long, punishing droughts and then suddenly get hit with giant floods. It makes growing that perfect tea that we all love almost impossible. Okay, so I know this all sounds pretty serious, and it is. But this is not where the story ends. Not by a long shot. Because the most important part of this whole conversation is what we can do about it. And the best news of all, every single one of us can be part of the solution. It all starts with this one simple idea. Small changes add up to make a huge difference. Seriously, things like switching to energy-saving light bulbs or walking to the store instead of taking the car. Even just remembering to turn off your computer when you're done with it. Recycling, wasting less food. All these little things, they matter. Supporting farmers with things like fair trade products, that matters too. Every single one of these choices helps push things in the right direction. So, I want to leave you with a question. And it's not really a question about the planet, it's a question for you. Looking at all this, what's one small thing, just one little change that you can start doing today? Because at the end of the day, every giant solution starts with a million tiny actions. Thanks so much for joining this explainer.